Someone tells you a secret about a mutual friend. Your chest tightens a little. Your eyes widen. And somewhere underneath the guilt of, I shouldn't be enjoying this, you feel something that's undeniably close to pleasure. You're not a bad person. You're running software that's older than language itself. Gossip has a terrible reputation. It's the thing polite people claim they don't do, the behavior parents warn you against, the topic of 100 self-help articles telling you to rise above it. And yet you do it anyway. Almost everyone does. Understanding why might change how you feel about the last conversation you had at work. Start with a number that tends to surprise people. Evolutionary psychologist Robin Dunbar spent years studying how much of ordinary human conversation is actually gossip, defined broadly as talk about the social lives of absent third parties. His research suggested the figure sits somewhere around 65% of everyday conversation. Not neutral small talk about weather or plans. Actual social information about who did what, to whom, and why. 2 out of every 3 things you say to another person, on average, involve someone who isn't in the room. That number alone should tell you gossip isn't a moral failing bolted onto human nature. It is human nature, running almost exactly as designed. To understand why, you have to go back before language even existed in its modern form. Dunbar's broader theory is that language itself evolved primarily as a replacement for something other primates do instead: grooming. If you've ever watched footage of chimpanzees, you've seen them spend hours each day picking through each other's fur, not because it's dirty, but because grooming builds trust, cements alliances, and maintains social bonds within the group. The problem is grooming doesn't scale. A chimpanzee can really only maintain close bonds with a handful of others through physical touch alone. But human social groups grew larger. Bigger tribes needed a faster, more efficient way to maintain dozens, sometimes over 100, relationships at once. Dunbar's theory is that spoken language, and specifically social talk, became that faster tool. You can't groom 50 people in an afternoon. You can talk about 50 people in an afternoon. Which means every time you catch up with a friend about who's dating who got promoted, who said something awkward at a party, you're not wasting time. You're doing the verbal equivalent of grooming an entire social network simultaneously. Here's where it gets more useful and slightly less flattering. Gossip isn't just social bonding. It's also information gathering with real evolutionary stakes. In small ancestral groups, knowing who could be trusted, who cheated, who broke an agreement, and who was reliable in a crisis wasn't idle curiosity. It was survival-relevant data. Psychologist Jennifer Bosson has studied how sharing negative information about a third party, when both people agree with the assessment, actually increases closeness between the two people talking far more than sharing positive information does. Agreeing that someone is untrustworthy bonds you to the person you're agreeing with fast. This is uncomfortable to hear, but it explains something almost everyone has experienced. The conversation where you and a coworker quietly agree that a manager handled something badly. That moment usually creates more closeness in 5 minutes than weeks of pleasant small talk. You're not imagining that. There's a specific mechanism behind it. There's also a policing function that gets overlooked. Anthropologist and researcher Christopher Boehm studied small-scale societies and found that gossip functions as a low-cost way of enforcing group norms without violence. If someone starts hoarding resources, bullying others, or breaking group agreements, gossip about their behavior spreads quickly. Their reputation suffers, and social consequences follow without anyone needing to throw a punch or stage a formal trial. Reputational damage, spread through casual conversation, was often enough to correct behavior in groups too small to have police, courts, or written laws. In other words, gossip was one of the earliest forms of social accountability humans ever invented. Long before laws were written down, reputation was the law, and gossip was how reputation got enforced. Now here's the part that connects all of this directly to your own brain, right now in the present. Studies using brain imaging have found that sharing juicy social information, activates regions of the brain associated with reward, the same general circuitry involved in eating good food or receiving money. Psychologist Diana Tamir has researched how self-disclosure and sharing social information trigger measurable activity in the brain's reward system. Your brain isn't tricking you into thinking gossip feels good. It genuinely does, because for most of human history, being plugged into accurate social information kept you safe, kept you allied with the right people, and kept you out of alliances with the wrong ones. This is why gossip feels almost irresistible in the moment, even when you know, rationally, that you probably shouldn't be saying it. You're not weak-willed. You're responding to a reward system that predates modern ethics by roughly 200,000 years. None of this means every form of gossip is harmless, and it's worth being honest about where the line actually sits. Researchers who study this distinguish between gossip that serves a real social function, warning others about genuinely harmful behavior, maintaining accountability, strengthening trust between allies, and gossip that's purely cruel, fabricated, or designed to isolate someone for no functional reason. The ancient mechanism rewards the first kind because it once kept small groups safe and cohesive. It doesn't specifically reward cruelty. Cruelty just happens to hijack the same circuitry when people use gossip to tear someone down rather than hold them accountable. So the next time you feel that small thrill of hearing something you probably shouldn't, or notice a conversation drifting naturally toward who did what to whom, you don't need to feel ashamed of the mechanism itself. 65% of human conversation runs on exactly this. Every ancestor you have used shared social information to build alliances, hold others accountable, and figure out who was safe to trust, long before there were any other tools available to do it. The guilt you feel isn't a sign that something is wrong with you. It's a sign that you're a modern person carrying an ancient tool, one built for tribes of 150, now being used in a world of social media, group chats, and coworkers you'll never fully verify. The tool hasn't changed. Only the size of the tribe has. And maybe that's the real reframe. That thrill in your chest when someone leans in and says, "You didn't hear this from me," isn't proof that you're petty. It's proof that, underneath a phone and a job title and a century of etiquette rules, you're still running the exact same social software your ancestors used to keep their tribe alive.